So, on with the show here. Okay, today's agenda, we're going to talk about regular time cards and amended time cards. The regular time cards, we'll talk about how to enter, how to go through the approval process, what's going to happen if your approver rejects your time card, what is the entry after the rejection, and then audit reports that are out there in the system. I'm also going to talk about amended time cards. And amended time cards are time cards that you would have to enter after your original time card has been processed and the expense has been posted to the database. So that's exactly what it means. It's going to amend the original time card that went through. We'll talk about the amendment entry, the amendment approval, rejection, how to enter after rejection, and the actual processing of the time card itself. Now, when I talk about regular time cards are simply your original time card before it is archived and or amended. The bottom line is the time card is recording hours in the system, but it is not going to record expense until management actually processes those time cards in your JAMIS Prime database. It's simply collecting the hours against efforts and against particular earning codes. The status of the time card goes through a cycle. The first off, it's going to start as not created, and that's what you'll see when you originally sign in with your time card. It'll show that it's not created. As soon as you save it, regardless of whether or not there are hours in there, it will go to open. Then you will submit it. And then we do have a partially approved status, but you're really not using it because you have a single approver set up in your database. So only one person is going to approve each and every one of your time cards. Then we'll go to an approved status, or possibly it's going to go into rejected status, and we will show that later on. If a particular time card needs to get changed after it's been archived, and by archiving it means it's been processed over in human resources. It has been dollarized. The hours will be met up with your pay set, your pay rate, and it actually is booked as an expense in the system. If it has already been archived, you need an amendment process in order to make changes. And the bottom line is there can only be one regular time card out there in the system per employee per time card period. It is not going to allow you to make the mistake of having two time cards out there at the same time. So when you're talking about regular time cards, before you actually create the time card, there is no record in the system. But the first status that's going to happen, or what you're going to see when you open your time card, is you will see the status that says not created. Once you save your time card, it's going to change the status from not created to open. So therefore, if you open up your time card and you see not created for this week, and this week being, I guess it's August, and my calendar sitting there is July, but starting off the 2nd of August, and if you do not save it, it will stay as not created. As soon as you save it, it'll go into the open status, regardless of whether or not you've booked it against a job or an hour. And at the end of the time card period, and you all have both weekly and biweekly pay periods, but you're posting on a weekly basis. Hence, you are going to submit your time card every 7 days. Okay, at the end of the time card period, you're just going to click submit, and you'll see the status on your time card change to submitted. As I said, you're not using multiple approvals, so you're not going to see partially approved at this point. But what you will see is once your approver does go in there and review your time card, and he or she approves it, you'll see the status of your time card move to approved. Now, once a time card is approved, you cannot make any changes to it. If you realize at that particular point that you've made a mistake, what you need to do is contact your approver, and I'll show you where you can find out who your approver is, and simply ask them to reject your time card. And believe me, I have done that once or twice in my lifetime. I will get a little cavalier, and I will submit my time card before I really review it, realize I forgot something, You simply just need to talk to your approver, ask them to reject the time card. That opens it up to you, and then you can make whatever changes you need and then just resubmit it. Okay, the entry itself, and I'll show you screen prints of what this is going to look like. When you open up your time card, you get to select jobs from a drop-down list, which is built using the following things. On the top portion, you will have job numbers that are connected with what are considered to be your special earning codes, things like your vacation or your holiday, floating holiday, things of that nature. On the bottom portion, it consists of the job numbers from your personal job list. Now, according to your database, the only jobs that you are going to be able to access will be the jobs that your supervisor is going to provide to you on your personal job list. There is, just to let you know, for those of you who are going to be the internal help desk, there are actually other options. You can allow people to search the entire job master. You can ask them to add multiple jobs, or they can manually enter things. But the decision was made up front that people are going to only be able to use the pick list that's provided to them by their supervisor. So when you go into your time card, this is what it's going to look like. All right, you come in here and you notice the status right now is not created. You'll have a box over on the right-hand side that will show you any balances you have as far as vacation or holiday. You will have tabs on your time card that'll say Edit, View, View Report, and View Summary. You will have Save, Print, Instructions. You will not have Start and Stop Time at Dawson, but you'll have approver information. So anytime you click on approver information, you'll be able to find out who is actually approving your time cards. But when you pull down, you toggle here and just hit this pull down menu. This is what I was talking about. On the top, and this is not necessarily Dawson's numbers, but on the top portion of the pull down, you will see all those special earning codes. Your vacation, your holiday, comp time, whatever you happen to have will be up here. And these are actually mapped to the organizations that you belong to. On the second section, what you're going to have is your personal job list. This will be the jobs that your supervisor has provided you and has authorized you to charge. You probably are not going to see anything down here, okay? But this is the special earning codes, and this is your pick list as far as the jobs that you can choose. Okay, there's also extra information items at the bottom of your time card that are displayed, and depending on what Dawson has decided to use, you might see things like department or location or a cost element, a labor category, budgeted hours, that type of thing. And so if we take a look here, you see here on this particular time card, when the cursor is pointed to this line, and this particular job is 1001.1.1.001, it's showing that it's cost element 1000. And let me just tell you all, in your database, every person in your database has a cost element that's tied to 1000. So this cost element is something that you never have to choose. It's just going to default in. If you happen to have a labor category specific job that you're working on, you might have to come down here and select a labor category. Your department is probably going to default. If you have budgeted hours, you might see them down here. And if you have a location, you'll see it default to here. I do know, looking at your setup, that your contract labor category is editable. So if you're seeing a labor category that is tied to that particular job and you need to change it, all you have to do is hit this magnifying glass and choose from whatever pick list is down there. Also up here on the top, when you actually choose the jobs, normally what's going to happen is it's going to default to reg. Unless you go in there and change it, the default for most of our employee types means it's going to go to a regular earning code. If you happen to have a compound code, perhaps you're a lead on some sort of job, and your supervisor has told you you need to choose another earning code, all you'd have to do is pull this down and you'd have the other earning code available to you to choose if you need to, okay? So As far as the entry is concerned, as we all know and love, we have as our primary customer the United States government, and their agency, DCAA, requires daily time entry by employees. There are a number of late entry opportunities in the database whereby it will ping you if you do not get your time card in on time. It will send you emails, but right now the late entry opportunities in the database have not been set up for Dawson, and that's a discussion that we need to have with management as to when, if and when, we're going to turn that on. But if you do have late entry set up, it's going to ask you to explain why. So the bottom line is, if my process is that I need to have my daily time card filled out by 10 o'clock the next morning, if I do not have it filled out by 10 o'clock the next morning, I am always asked, how come? And that's basically what it is. For every line that I put in a late entry, it's going to ask me for an explanation, and this is just automatically going to pop up. Okay? But right now it's turned off for Dawson. I don't know exactly when it's going to be turned on, and I'm sure management will tell you exactly when that's going to be enabled. Now, as far as entry is concerned, once time card data is saved, and so if I'm saving my time card on a daily basis, you might have change turned on, and I do believe Dawson has change turned on right now. And the bottom line is, if I put my time card in today for Monday, and then tomorrow afternoon I decide I made a mistake, even though I haven't submitted it, it's going to ask me, why did I change my time card? And it simply will come up again and toggle you or trigger a change reason dialog box that you have to fill out. And this is what it will look like. It just wants you to explain the changes. Why did you change that particular line? This particular case, it said I entered the wrong hours, went against the wrong job, whatever it happens to be. But this way, what it's doing is it's creating a very robust audit trail for any changes that were made to your time card after saving. I also want to note, as you see over here, if you can see these boxes are C, and this simply means that there is information for that line underneath there if there is a green box. I also use these boxes when I put in my jobs to put in comments. I oftentimes put in exactly what I've done on a particular day. So if I'm charging accounting for Monday, I will write down exactly what I did for accounting. And that is going to be a Dawson specific requirement if necessary, if they are going to require you to put comments in there. So therefore, employees will submit their time cards after completing the defined pay cycle. And at Dawson, we're talking about once a week. At the end of the week, you will be submitting it. We're not using the late submit functionality right now, but a submitted time card is now available for your approvers to review, and they can either approve it or they can reject it. If they reject it, you will get a message as to why they have rejected your time cards. You as the employee, however, can click the approver information button, and you will be able to see exactly who your approver is, and you can also track the progress of your time card. If I click the approver after I submitted it and my approver has actually gone in there and okayed my time card, it will say so, and it will tell me exactly when they approved that time card. So this is, as you can see here, my time card has been approved, and when I click on the approver information, it's going to tell me exactly who approved it and when and where. Also note up here, the current time card has already been approved. You cannot work on this time card. So therefore, you as the user, once a time card has been approved, you cannot make any changes to it. Again, what you would have to do if you realize you had a problem with it is just simply ask your approver to reject it, and the process begins again. Okay? So what you will do at the end of the week, and of course what I have here is the graphic is not very representative, seeing we have no hours here, but at the end of the week, all you do is there'll be a button on the bottom right-hand side that says submit your time card. And once you submit it, it will change the status from open to submitted. One thing I did want to mention to you, and thank you very much, Shell, for providing this. This is your Dawson internal help desk. What we would like you to do, if you have problems with your time card initially, instead of calling JAMIS directly, we have established a Dawson internal help desk that will help you through the first several days of your time card adventure. And we have Tricia, Melissa, Samantha, Janie, Frank, Donnie, and Roger. And Shell did mention the fact that he wanted you to pay particular attention to the fact that he gave you the phone numbers, but he also told you where they're located. So you don't want to be calling somebody in Hawaii first thing in the morning if you're on the East Coast, because they shan't be available. So we've got an Eastern time zone, Central, and Hawaiian time. So just choose wisely. If you have questions, make sure you understand who you need to speak to. I assume, Shell, that you'll be passing this out to the rank and file. And Shell, if you don't mind, do you have your PIN in? I'm going to see if I can unmute you. Okay, Shell, will you be able to pass this out to your end users?
Yes, so I can do that.
Okay, fantastic. I also, everybody, we have this presentation sitting out on your L&D site, but the bottom line is I don't think everybody has access to the L&D site. So I actually will be talking to Brian and Amy and Shell and see if there's a central place we can place this for people that are not accessing L&D. But anyway, you will have all this information. You have an internal help desk that's going to be able to help you. And just note these people and use their sage advice accordingly. All right. Now the approval process. Those of you who are just end users, this is what's going to happen to your time card once you press submitted. Okay. First of all, your time cards per Dawson's setup only needs one approver. It's either going to be approved by your company-wide approver, or it's going to be approved by your supervisor, okay, your time card approver. Okay, so you can have up to 4 levels of approval in the system. Dawson has chosen to go with 1 at this particular time. And the time card approver, as far as their ability to modify their credit card options, they cannot make any changes at all. Dawson has decided that your approver is not going to be able to make any changes whatsoever to your time card. So therefore, if they find your time card deficient in hours or wrong jobs or whatever it is, they will not change it. They will reject it and push it back to you. Okay, as far as the approval process is concerned, we are set up at Dawson as 1 approver, and this says no review, but you cannot make any changes at all. And your approver actually has to review at least your summary information. On this screen, it says they don't have to review it. They can just press the button and approve it. Your approvers actually have to read your summary information before they approve those time cards, which makes total sense. The approval view, when you are the approver, allows you to retrieve current and/or archive time cards based on all submitted, open, approved, rejected. They can take a look at your time cards at any stage of the process. They will also be able to see if they have any amended time cards in the queue, because I'll show you the report and the flag will be set to yes, and they'll know that they're approved, amended time cards out there waiting for their approval. They can also use a time card schedule and a period filter to refine their search if necessary. If you need to see archived time cards by employee, and archived time cards, I'll remind you, are time cards that have already been processed and the expense has been posted in your database. They can select the time card menu, the approval view, and view archives. So they can see both your archive time cards and your current in process regular time cards. If you need to approve time cards, if you are an approver and you need to approve time cards that somebody delegated to you, you simply use the delegating approver drop-down list to select that delegation. Okay, I'm doing Amy's time cards this week. I select Amy, and what will happen in the drop-down list, I will see all of Amy's normal time cards. Okay, so this is what the approver is going to see. In this particular case, this person is choosing all, not archive time cards, but all current time cards, whether they be submitted, open, rejected, or approved. Now, it's going to depend on what your process is, Dawson, what you want people to take a look at. But anyway, if you click on the all, you're going to see all status. And as you can see here, we have all different statuses. We have open, submitted, approved, rejected. And we also have all different dates. So we have pretty much everything out here because nobody chose a schedule. So they're seeing everything. Notice also in this column, none of these are amended. If it was an amended time card, it would say yes. Okay? So they can view for approval, they can view not created, view archived, they can view delegation, and this is where they will create the employee ID job list. Okay? Clicking select next to any time card. Now, if I just go back here, this is what I'm talking about right here. If you click on this box, if you click select next to any time card, it'll bring up the view time card screen. If you have multiple time cards that you have to approve or review, you can mark them all and it'll pretty much stage them and you'll go through one at a time. Okay? The drop-down list will also be available at the top of the screen, allowing you to jump back and forth from employee to employee. There are 4 views, and actually I think you are not going to see one of the views. You're not going to see edit time cards because you've chosen in your database not to allow approvers to edit time cards, but you'll see view time card, view report, view summary. And the view summary is what you've decided is the minimum that an approver has to do in order to approve a time card. So depending on your setup, the edit time card may not be available, and that's exactly what's going to happen with you. You will not see that. So what you'll see is view time card, view report, view summary, and so you can jump back and forth and see exactly what you want. In this particular case, the screen print shows that everybody's approved. But simply, you're going to see view time card, view report, view summary. What you've chosen is for your approvers. At minimum, they have to take a look at the summary view. And so if I look at this, this is the edit time card. You're not going to see this. This is just a time card that an approver could make changes. You're not going to allow that to happen. But you are going to allow people to view the time card. And so somebody come in, the approver can come in here and take a look at the detail of the time card the way the user would have actually entered this, even though they're not allowed to make any changes. So you can see the difference between this screen. You could actually make changes. This is grayed out, so this is just showing you the detailed view of what is going on the time card. And what your approver is going to do is, here you got Magic Johnson has a submitted time card. If they reviewed this and they thought everything was A-OK, they're going to simply press the approve button and it will change the status of this time card to approve. This is another view that the approver can take a look at, and this is called view report. And this is going to show you job by job what were the hours charged against that particular job, what was the cost element, any budget, any contract labor category, what department it's associated with. It'll give you the total numbers. You also, if you use the comments field, it will show you all the comments that you have against that particular line. Now, this is what you have chosen to be the minimum requirement for your approvers to take a look at your time cards. And you're going to have to click on the view summary. And this will just give you line by line. So if I had multiple jobs that I was charging this week, it would show me all of the jobs and the total number of hours against that job by labor category. Okay, so you can see the ID reg 88 hours, then if I had vacation for 8 hours, it would show that. So this is the screen that actually the Dawson approvers have to, at minimum, use in order to approve a time card. They also have the ability, and let me go up here and just show you right here, there's a button that says Profile. If you need to, approvers, you can click on the Profile button. It will bring up a view of the profile that's used for this particular time card. And that's like any rules that you would have if they have to charge 8 hours in a day, 40 hours in a week, that type of thing. Clicking on any green text icon will bring up the text entered by the employee on that particular line. And so if somebody has comments in there, or somebody has reasons why they had to change their time card for whatever reason after the fact, you will see a green box and you can click on that and read whatever the employee put in there. Approvers could also review late entries, late submittals, and errors, but we are not using late entry right now, but you will be able to see the change history. The buttons, as it says right here, are dynamic, and so therefore if I put my time card through clean and I made no changes and had no comments, you're not going to see anything there because the conditions were not met for my time card. Clicking the approve button on the bottom will approve the time card. Okay, you do not have partial approvers, so don't worry about that. So as soon as the approver clicks the approve button, that time card is now available for HR to start processing and bringing it in to dollarize it. Okay, so this is showing you what a profile is going to look like. If I clicked on profile, you can see weekly total from 80, that type of thing. And so we'll just tell you what kind of profile that employee has. If you click on a green box, it'll show you all the verbiage underneath it. If it's not highlighted, if it's grayed out, that means there is nothing there for you to read. And when, if, and ever you enact your late entry, again, if you click on this, it will show you the reasons why they entered their time cards late. Now, on the other side of the coin is rejection. Okay. There are many reasons why a time card needs to be rejected. Perhaps they don't meet the minimum required hours. You know, as the supervisor, they've charged the wrong job. Something does not look right, or the employee themselves have come to you and said, I've made a mistake on my time card. I need to resubmit it. So what you need to do at that particular point is the approver will click the reject button. And once you click the reject button, it's going to ask you to provide an explanation. And then you simply click continue. We're going to disregard partially approved because we're not doing that. But it is possible to reject a time card after you previously approved it. That's not a big deal. Okay? It's just going to throw it back into the hopper. And what the end user is going to see is their status will go from being submitted and or approved, depending where it was in the cycle, to the status will then be rejected. And it is also possible for another approver to reject a fully approved time card. For example, if Shell had approved a time card and Amy came in behind him as the company-wide approver, she would have the ability to reject that time card even though he had previously approved it. And so all the approver will do is go up here and they have a reject button. This is something that you do not have as an end user, but they have a reject button and they simply reject the time card. And once they do, the box will come up and explain the rejection. And basically there are reason codes that are set up in your database, and then they can put the verbiage in there as to exactly why they decided to reject this time card. Once a time card is rejected, the employee has to correct the information and just submit it again. Basically, you're starting from square one. You're coming in, you're taking a look at your time card, you can see your approver's comments as to why he or she rejected it. All you need to do is go in there and simply make the changes requested, or make the changes that you forgot, or whatever it happens to be, and you resubmit it again. And so it goes through the same process. You've submitted it, your approver has to go in there and review it again in summary, and then they can choose to either approve or reject one more time. And so when the required number of signatures have been collected, in your case, Dawson is talking about one signature, either the company-wide approver or your supervisor, it is going to be approved. And so the time card at that particular point, the same way with the original entry, is now ready to be retrieved over in the labor side. And so, okay, so the entry after rejection, this is what it's going to look like if you have your time card rejected. You will see the status will go to rejected, and you will have this red message up here, this time card has been rejected. And you will also have the information as to why. If you hit the view details, it will tell you exactly why your time card was rejected. You simply go in there and change your time card as appropriate. And it's going to ask you why you're changing those particular lines, and you just put in whatever you need to put in there, and you simply resubmit it. Now for approvers, I just want to let you know it is highly recommended that you run reports during and at the end of your time periods when you're talking about retrieving your time cards. But there are a number of inquiries sitting out there under the labor tab. You have simple reports that you can see all time cards that have been approved. You have reports that can show you hours by employer by job. You can see who is missing time card. You also have that tab, View Not Created, which is the bane of any approver's existence. That means at the end of the week when you view not created and you have a name there, somebody has not even started their time card. You have other reports checking for specific conditions, and you also have reports that can show you your special earning codes, how much vacation has been taken, holiday, things like that. But all of these inquiries are found on the labor tab. Now, you all that are the end users, you're not going to have access to this labor tab. It will only be your approvers. Just to let you know that you don't have access to the same reports. Now, on the flip side, we have processed your time card, and it's already been posted as an expense in the database. And now we realize I charged job A and I should have charged job B. Or the project manager now says, I've had to close off this job, we have to move it over to another job. But for whatever reason, you need to amend a time card. An amended time card is simply a time card that has been retrieved and later changed. And so it's already been posted in the database, but now we've got to make changes to it. Making changes, just want to emphasize, if you make changes to a time card before being retrieved, before it's been posted in the database, it is not an amended time card. You do not have to put in an amended time card. The only time you have to put in an amended time card is if it's already been processed by HR. It's already an expense in the database. Prior to that point, you can always have your time card rejected, make any changes, and then they'll go and process it. What is going to happen with the amendment is the time card application. What it will do is if you mark a time card as an amended time card, it is going to go in there and create automatically all the reversing entries for the original time card automatically when we export it. Therefore, be aware that you do not have to put negatives on your time card. All you have to do is fill out the time card exactly the way you want. And so the original time card will have a mirror image of it totally reversed. And then it's going to pull in the new amended time card as you present it. Okay? So no negatives. Do not put any negative hours in there. The amended time cards at Dawson do not have different approval requirements. It's still a single approver. And only employees or mass entry users can amend a time card. Your approvers cannot. If there is a problem, it has to go back to the original person. It always goes back to the beginning to correct any mistakes in the timekeeping process. So therefore, entry. To amend a time card as you, the end user, as the employee, all you need to do is go in there and select archived time cards from the drop-down list. Use your lookup to find the desired period. Now, somebody's come to you and said, okay, they'll talk to you in September and say, okay, the first week of August, I have to change that time card. So just go in there, select archive time cards, pull up the lookup, look for the first week of August, pull that up. All you have to do at that particular point, once you retrieve the time card, is just click on the tab that says Edit Time Card and make whatever changes necessary. Again, I emphasize, do not put negatives in there, okay? The time card is then submitted and it will go through the normal approval process. The same thing happens on the other side if you have access to mass entry. If somebody has the rights to do mass entry, you just go into administration, you mass enter time cards, and you're going to go click on mass amend time cards. Find the time card, retrieve it, make any changes, and then submit it the same way you normally would. Okay, so this is the amended time card entry. When you pull this down, there will be something that says archive time cards. Now, when you try to do this today, there's not going to be anything there because you haven't started yet. But as time goes on, you will see the option for archive time cards. You simply choose that. If you're in mass entry, if you're one of the administrators, you simply go into administration, mass enter time cards, and mass amend time cards. You get to the same place, different door. Okay? In the view for the approval section, amended time cards are distinguished on the regular report because they say yes in the amended column. And all approval, rejection, and correction functions for amended time cards are the same as regular. There really is no difference. Okay? You do not have a different number of signatures. You still have the one. And everything is still the same for you. Okay? But once an amended time card is approved, it's ready to be retrieved to process labor, to be posted in the database. And so when you run the report, at this particular point, I'm looking for things that are submitted. You notice here on this box, you will see that it says yes now, that you do have amended time cards in the queue. Again, you're going to look at inquiries, but the one thing I would note when you're retrieving amended time cards, just know that when you say you want amended time cards, it's going to pull in all amended time cards. What you need to do if you want to zero in on just a couple, you need to use the filter to amended time cards, either by like employee ID or department filters. So if all I wanted to do was to search for Shell's amended time card, I would zero it down to just Shell's ID. Okay, that way I can control. If I say I want to pull an amended and everything that's approved, it's going to pull in everything when you're processing the time cards. So just be aware of that. So if you want to cull it down to a small universe for some reason, you're looking for something, either use the ranges over here with the employee ID or the organizations. Okay, and that's all I had to say about that, except what I want to finish up with is we, over time, have realized that there are pretty much about 5 reasons people are going to call your internal help desk up front the first several days or the first several weeks. And I just want to warn all of you what they're going to be. And for the end users, there's a couple of things that, well, actually, the first thing is probably 80% of the time, this is going to be an issue while you're having problems with your time card. You need to be able to go in there and allow pop-ups. You have to be able to say to whatever browser you're using, whether it's Internet Explorer or Chrome or Foxfire or whatever, just make sure that your address, and your address is going to be dawson.jamisprime.com, is an accepted address as far as your pop-ups are concerned. Okay? Number one reason. If your time card for some reason is acting quirky, you probably have to clear your cache or your history. Now, login credentials, you all should have them at this point. It should be your first initial last name, The one thing I wanted to stress, and let me see if I can get to you. Okay, first of all, your browser pop-ups, I'm going to let this go. There is, for the help desk, there are lots of information here that you can help your user go through, but I want to show you your actual login. And when you get to the screen, this is what your login is going to look like. Okay, you're going to put in, I think it's your first initial last name. Okay, you're going to put in your temporary password that you were given, and you want to make sure you choose the right company. Dawson has a number of companies. You have to look to your time card approver, your supervisor, as to which company you actually are going to access. Okay? And last but not least, you're also going to be retrieving and resetting your password. If you forgot your password, there is a button on the bottom of the sign-in screen that will allow you to say request a new password, which you can. But just be aware of the fact that if you try to log in unsuccessfully a number of times, it's going to lock you out. At that point, you're going to have to talk to your supervisor or talk to the internal Dawson help desk, because they're actually going to have to go in and reset your password. So you can retrieve and reset your password by yourself if you click on the bottom of the screen initially, but if you tried to get in too many times without success, it's going to lock you out, and at that point you have to call your help desk. So that is what I wanted to communicate to you today, and I wish you the best of luck with your JAMIS time card, and I am going to unmute Shell if I can, and just ask you if you had any comments that you would like to say to the audience.
Hey, Sue. Just a couple of updates. The username and password will be provided after the second training session.
Okay, excellent.
This is at 4. And when you log in, you don't really have to select the company. The company will default at Dawson Company.
Okay.
And that's the only company that everyone will be using.
Excellent. I'm glad I asked you. Okay, so it sounds like nobody can get into their time card right now. They just have to wait until basically tomorrow morning. Is that correct, Shell?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Anything else you would like to pass along, Shell?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, and if possible, I'd like to talk to you and Amy after this session is complete, and we'll just make sure we can tie up any loose ends administratively for your end users. Okay, excellent. Well, I thank you very much for your rapt attention. We have 66 attendees. I think we had about 60 people didn't show up for this session, but I just wanted to let you know, Shell, too, I was contacted by a couple of people telling me that they had multiple people that were going to be sitting on this under a single user. So I don't know if you're keeping track of attendance, but I just suggested that they let you know if they had a group audience listening.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Good luck with JAMIS time card. As I said, I have been using it since 1999. You can access it anytime, any place. We all want to keep DCAA happy, and so keep those time cards filled out on a daily basis, and all will be right with the world. So thank you very much, and have yourself a good day.
Thanks, Sue.
You're welcome. Take care.